items for discussion at workshop. Council member, you have 5 minutes to talk 2 times. Madam Secretary, whenever you're ready.
TS 23044, discuss firearms in City Council chambers.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. City Attorney Clemens.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I have a presentation that has a few items and give you a little bit of background on this. So Texas law regarding handguns at the City Council meeting, Texas law generally allows a license holder to carry a concealed handgun or openly carry a handgun in the shoulder or belt holster. The penal code prohibits a concealed or open carrying of a handgun in the room where a governmental entity meets if it's an open meeting subject to the Texas Open Meeting Act and the entity provides notice that handguns are prohibited. So after state legislation changed regarding handguns in 2016, you've heard a little bit of this already, but just to give you that information, the council passed 2 resolutions regarding handguns. So that's 16-075 and 16-076, which allow concealed carry of handguns and open carry of handguns. And so, and then it came back in March 2021. Council considered but did not pass a resolution to repeal those resolutions. So what that means is that currently handguns are allowed to be carried into council chambers during council meetings by license holders. So what a repeal would mean, if the 2016 resolutions were repealed, then staff could place signs with the required verbiage near the entrances to council chambers and other meeting locations, and open or concealed carrying of handguns at meetings would no longer be allowed if those notices were, if the resolutions were repealed and if the notices were posted. So your options are to direct staff to bring back a resolution repealing those resolutions and direct staff to post notice prohibiting handguns at city council meetings, or don't direct staff to do that, and then we would maintain what is currently occurring.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney. City Attorney Clemens. It's been a long night. Councilmember Segar.
Thank you, Mayor. My first question is, because I don't remember even having a discussion on this item or anything. I guess that's what we're trying to do, if we want to discuss this or not. Is that what we're trying to figure out?
Right. This is a discussion item. I put it on the agenda, and I was going to go first to tell you why I did it, but I was looking at a certain person down there. Well,
I'm going to try this because, with all due respect, I mean, I don't know if we even want to discuss it. I mean, I would make a motion that we just take this out and eliminate it and just move on. You know,
that's your motion of direction?
Yes, to eliminate this, not even discuss it, because I don't remember bringing anything up or anything, and I just would like to make a motion of direction that this item just be removed.
Okay, can I get a second to the motion of direction to remove DS-23-044 off the agenda? That's Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, got it. Okay, Councilmember Boyd. It still doesn't stop the discussion.
Madam Mayor, if you will, you want to kind of give an introduction on why you put this out there. If you would, I'll
Thank you.
let you do that.
One of the things I was considering is this. You cannot take a firearm into a church, most churches, a restaurant, a hospital, Bell County, state, and it's not against the law for us to not have the firearms within the chamber. Nolanville, I talked to their mayor. Temple, all other entities do not have that. And this is my greatest concern. We are paying our police officer to take time from their families to be here. They just don't just protect the council. They protect the citizens out there. So it's no need, if something was to happen, when a citizen may want to intervene and help a trained police officer that is trained to de-escalate any situation, or if things do get out of control and you make a decision that you're not trained to do, innocent people can be harmed. So I don't see the need for firearms to be in the chamber anyway. There's no purpose. You can carry them in the hallway. You can be outside with your firearm. That's fine. It has zero to do with the Second Amendment because the state said we can do it. It's not like any other city hall or county or state building. So I don't want people to say, I am a licensed gun carrier. It's in my car where it belongs, not in here. I need to come to the meeting. I need to give my input, and I need to listen. And when it's over, I go home. It doesn't change the dynamics in this room that if we want to have more police officers in here, if people want to feel safer, I don't have a problem with having more. But I do believe we need, what you call those things on the door? A metal detector, and we need to allow the police officers that we train and pay well, and they also need an increase in the budget. I know I was off. Well, to do their job. It just keep down chaos. It's not about what happens on this dais or an individual person. It's not about that. It's about this is something that we need to do in order to not protect only our citizens. We need to protect our staff and let our police officers do their job. That's why I brought it. And Councilmember Boyd, the floor is still yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a decisive person, and I speak decisively. This topic for me is very simple, and not getting tangled in unreasonable Second Amendment arguments. I support the restriction of handguns in the City Council chambers, not the entire building, the chambers. Quite simply, this is a government building, one which routinely hosts elected officials, city staff, our citizens, and guests. I made 3 observations on April 18th, which effectively established my position on the subject, because I felt the other way. One was hearing a citizen state that I have a weapon and the chief has one too. That is a threat of violence. The second was watching citizens prepare to exit the chambers in case a shooting did occur. I witnessed fear. And the third was having a citizen ask me sincerely if all the council meetings are like this. That's a concern. This should not be an issue when we're trying to conduct city business or execute city business. This is a looming issue, and we should not continue to risk the safety of ourselves, citizens, city staff, or guests for the sake of individuals determined to attend our meeting with a firearm. Outside of the chambers, in my opinion, is okay. In the chambers, I'm in favor of not allowing that to happen anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Boyd. Councilmember Cobb. I'm sorry, Councilmember Alvarez, but you went down. That's okay. Councilmember, no? Okay. I'll go back. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. My first question is actually for probably our legal staff. In the presentation, it mentions license holders. I thought the state legislature passed constitutional open carry. Does that apply to them as well, or?
Not in council chambers when when an open meeting is going on. So only licensed carriers can, when there's no notices, only licensed carriers can bring handguns into the city council meeting.
Okay.
So there is already a ban for if you're not licensed to come into council chambers when a meeting's going on.
Gotcha. The mayor, you made a comment about, having our police officers here. And I don't know that there are more police officers here today than I normally see. But when handguns were prohibited in the council chambers, did we not have police presence here back then as well, or I don't remember.
It was more of a, and I don't remember either, don't get me to telling you. But to answer that question, it may not go the way you want me to answer, but back then and compared to today with all these mass shootings, we just heard of a council member, not one, not two, the young man CJ that stated his case about so many violent acts that happened at council meetings. What happened then is not the same as it is today. So I can't expect to say how people acted or reacted, but today in today's society, when you can go on to a covenant church school and kill innocent people that really had not anything to do with the situation. Some of the topics that we discuss as a council, sometimes they get very heated. Even when you try to keep order, you cannot control emotion. So I don't think time back then and right now is a different environment, different time.
Sure. I understand that, and this is one of those topics that gets pretty controversial pretty quick. I try to pull the emotions out of it and look at it as pragmatically as I can. And you mentioned gentleman's comments earlier, and all his scenarios were in gun-free zones. If somebody wants to do you harm, I mean, it's concealed for a reason. If somebody comes in, we're not patting anybody down, even if we have stickers on the door that say weapons are not allowed. If somebody wants to come in here and shoot the place up, they're going to conceal it in their clothes. They're going to walk in here and they're going to do what they want to do. I don't know. I'm on the fence, but it's one of those things to where we've had this now they've been allowed in the council chambers for several years now, I believe, and we haven't had any incident to my knowledge. So I understand erring on the side of caution, and you don't want to wait till something happens in order to do something, but in a lot of the cases that we heard earlier, a lot of the cases that you see on TV, including Uvalde, were gun-free zones where people were not allowed to have a weapon, and yet they got in with the weapon, and we see how that turned out. So I'm not advocating for somebody to jump in and try to defend, a police officer or somebody else and use their weapon if they're not trained to do so. But again, you have the argument about personal safety, and I should be able to defend myself. So it gets tricky. I don't have nothing else to say, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Alvarez, and I do respect your opinion. Councilwoman Cobb.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is the right time to do the right something. I'm sorry. When we see shootings and when we see the occurrences in this world, in this society, in schools, in banks, in churches, everywhere that we go, we hear that. It is the right time to do the right something and put a sign up that says no guns in the chambers.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cobb. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Being someone that's been called a straight shooter, pardon the pun, the reason we're here is because of what happened a couple of weeks ago, all right? I'm not into knee-jerk reactions to anything. I don't see, where I do see where the mayor is talking about what could have happened. And I take responsibility for that. I take it alone, because me exiting this dais, and I'm going to stay on agenda before we start there. Me exiting the dais created a situation where, yeah, if someone's carrying a pistol, they may have felt threatened, even though I didn't threaten anyone. But I don't feel that that's a cause to go to the extreme of saying no guns and metal detectors. I'm not a big second rights amendment guy. I don't walk around scared in public with a pistol on my hip like I'm in the Wild West. because it doesn't cause for it. I don't personally think it calls for that. I don't think it personally calls that you wear a weapon inside the chamber. I think that that's kind of silly. But if you want to do it, I don't have a problem with you doing it. So I do think the police are here for everyone's safety, not just mine. And I'm reminded in that situation when Officer Sierra, obviously he thought that I needed to, backtrack off of what I was saying, and I did. When he put his hand on my chest, I thought about it. I said, okay, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's de-escalating. And that's exactly what he was supposed to do, and he did what he was supposed to do, and it worked. Now, if somebody still wants to come up here and bring a weapon into the chambers, to be honest with you folks, a lot of people just do things just for bait. They carry their weapons. They talk about Second Amendment rights. They do all of this stuff just to drum up some conversation, because it's fun to fight for a lot of people. But when we actually talk about the pragmatic and the practical instance of this, I don't think you're really stopping anything. It's been said before. As soon as this meeting is over and we exit out that door, this door, what stops somebody from shooting? If we can't control them out there, what's the difference in here? So that right now, just based off of everything that's been happening over the last couple of weeks, and I do thank you for bringing this up, because it's worthy of the discussion, but I just don't, I'm not in favor of it, and I can't see an instance, and God forbid anything happened that makes me look silly up here saying this, but I can't foresee it. In a risk mitigation situation, I don't see that this is a top agenda item. We got a lot of things to do, and spending a lot of money on metal detectors and making sure people leave their weapons somewhere else, I think we have more important things to do. So with that, I wouldn't be in favor of this.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and I respect your opinion. Councilwoman Gonzalez.
It's unfortunate we even have to have this conversation, but in these United States and the heightened political tension, I do understand the concern. I do understand where the conversation is coming from. Our constituent, though, mentioned something about cost associated, and for me, process is really important. So if this were to take place, or if we were to vote to move forward in this, we're talking about metal detectors, but there are differences with the walkthroughs versus the hands held. There's differences with the process. I know there's a notice that's posted, but are you asking for licenses to verify? What does that process look like? Do we know, or is that something that can be brought back to us before a decision is made?
Yes, ma'am. This is just up for discussion, and it's predicated on if it's voted up or down. And if it's voted up, that information, we can do the research on that and bring it back to the council. Thank you, Councilwoman Gonzalez. Councilmember Adams.
Because all the talk of people's rights to speak, I didn't rise to a point of order. But my understanding of the motion was not to have the discussion now. We just did 15 minutes of the discussion. So I call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, all in favor, yes, all opposed, no. Motion carries 5-2. Now we will move on, Madam. Call for the vote. Okay. So all in favor, yes. All opposed, no. And repeat the motion, Councilmember Segarra.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. I think it's a mute motion now, but the motion was to not discuss it. And so I would like to, add something to my motion. Is just say that we do not bring this forward. So that's.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. The motion passes 4-3 with Councilwoman Cobb, Councilmember Board, and Councilmember Gonzalez in opposition. Thank you, Council. That was great discussion.